Good evening, you're watching Estuary News. I'm Hugh Riches. In the headlines tonight, a new leisure centre opens in Bridlington and the success of the police force's crackdown on tackling crime and antisocial behaviour. 3 people have been hospitalised following a traffic collision and violent disorder on Elsenham Road in Grimsby last night. A large group of men and women are reported to have been fighting on Armstrong Street, allegedly throwing bricks. Some had weapons. Several car windscreens were smashed in the incident and further damage was caused after a man was seen driving a silver Ford car at high speed before colliding with nearby parked cars. It subsequently hit a silver Vauxhall Vectra at the junction of Pyewipe Road and Armstrong Street. The car then caught fire while the driver remained unresponsive inside and the passenger suffered a head injury. 2 of the casualties were taken to Hull Royal Infirmary and another taken to Diana, Princess of Wales Hospital for treatment. Officers are appealing for witnesses after the occupants of a car fled following a collision on Stroud Crescent in Hull last Tuesday evening. A silver-coloured Ford Focus was travelling on the wrong side of the road when it collided with a silver Renault Clio driving in the other direction. The occupants of the Ford Focus ran away from the scene following the incident. The driver of the Renault required treatment at Hull Royal Infirmary after sustaining injuries to her arms and a minor back injury. A heavily pregnant woman was assaulted in the Asda Mount Pleasant car park in Hull on Saturday. The woman was approached by an unknown female while she was driving out of the car park. The unknown woman shouted abuse at the victim before kicking the side of the car. She then opened the driver's side door and pulled the victim's hair and punched her in the head. The victim managed to shut the door before driving off. East Riding Leisure Centre, or East Riding Leisure in Bridlington, has officially opened its doors to the public today. Leader of East Riding Council, Stephen Parnaby, was on hand to greet the first customers who were rewarded with membership of East Riding Leisure for 1 year. The new centre features a range of sports and leisure facilities, including a 25-metre 6-lane swimming pool with learner pool, a 100-station tone zone with a mixture of cardio and weights, a 6-court sports hall and 2 squash courts. The leader of the council said that the leisure centre should provide amusement and income for visitors and residents of the town. He said he hoped it would transform Bridlington as an all-round attraction. A police force-wide initiative to protect the community continues to deliver successful results. Operation Impact sees Humberside Police working alongside local authorities, emergency services and the local community in tackling antisocial behaviour in Grimsby. Ahead of continued work in Scunthorpe today, Superintendent David Hall of Humberside Police emphasised the effect Operation Impact is having on local communities. Our reporter Fred McNamara has more.
The operation ran from the 14th of May to the 22nd of May, and I'm pleased to say we've had a number of successful outcomes. A total of 24 people were arrested during that stage, a number have been charged, a number of public meetings have taken place in terms of consulting with the public, gaining the views of local people. Over 40 people attended a local event at a community centre, including local councillors, members of the public, young people. Had a number of high visibility patrols which are aligned to the key times when some of the crime and antisocial behaviour is occurring. We've actually recovered a number of items including weapons, drugs, large quantity of cash, bikes, both motorcycle and pedal cycles. We've also recovered some motor vehicles for document offences, road traffic offences. We also recovered a caravan that had been stolen as well. So that's quite a good point at this time of the year. I would like to take the opportunity really to appeal to the community out there. Obviously this week has seen us make a big difference. What I'm really keen to do is that we sustain the difference we've made. And that is very much, I say, around the community coming forward, talking to us, engaging with us and providing information around those people who are causing the most harm and ultimately the people who are most vulnerable as well, so we can provide support to those people. Certainly very pleasing to have over 40 residents attend a community event last week. around what are the issues affecting their area and what can we do as a team, as a group of people, like-minded people, to address some of those issues. So that was really encouraging, which I think for me puts it into perspective in terms of the level of criminality we're referring to. There's an awful lot of people who live in that area who are law-abiding citizens who want to make a difference. I'm very much committed to facilitating that and making sure that we do make a difference.
6 new pieces of artwork have been installed around the new Greenport Hull site in East Hull. They'll line the route of the footpath, diverted now from the riverbank, to go alongside the new development. They've been created by local students with a theme of Hull's maritime past and have cost more than £100,000. Simon Brett is the head of projects at Associated British Ports on the Humber.
The idea of putting the sculptures and the artwork along was to bring something of the history and the heritage of the port into the community and into the artwork. And originally the idea was to try to get people from London to do it, but we said no, we wanted people from Hull. There's enough talent in Hull, and people from Hull have been very, very inspirational, working with the colleges and the schools to come up with ideas and very, very much to focus on the heritage of the port.
It's my first time working in the industry and anything like this, and overcoming issues that relate to the industry. So it's been fun and definitely interesting.
Yeah, I think as artists we're stuck in 4 white walls all the time in our studio spaces. Just make it. It's quite isolated. You're not there. You're not essentially working with people. But this has been entirely different. We're working with industry, and it's. I think there were one meeting, there were like 12 people there. And they've all got different interests, and you're all trying to. Yeah,
and I think sometimes you're combating as well, aren't you? As well, and especially as like students in the early stages of career, it's money management as well. So we're given budgets.
We went to 2 local schools. We went to Victoria Dock School, primary school, and also Mallet Lambert School, the local comprehensive. And it was very, very important to get the youth involved because they are the future of the city.
We graduate this year, so it kind of ties in with our degree show in itself. It's been a 2-year-long project, so it doesn't just your studio work inside university and as a external artist doesn't stay stagnant. Doing this keeps you fresh and it keeps you on your toes, and it opens your eyes to other opportunities, doesn't it, as well?
Yeah, it's kind of a different way of thinking about arts. It's quite nice.
A new project that aims to uncover the untold stories of Grimsby's Hope Street will start in June. It's going to be an exhibition, 5,000 hours of voluntary work and a £65,000 grant from the National Lottery have culminated in a history of health on Hope Street, which has been set up by the Hope Street Trust. Claire Warrington, Managing Director of Synergy Grimsby, is behind the initiative and joins me now, along with Carl Massey-Chase, a former resident of Hope Street. Claire, Carl, thank you very much for coming in. Claire, first of all, you better tell me when and where people can come and enjoy this exhibition.
The exhibition, we've got the first day is on Wednesday, the 1st of June, and that's going to be an open door surgery, and that's a family day, and that's for all the families from Hope Street, like the Massey-Chases and the Ironmongers and the Linfords and the Drants and the Denfords, and then on the Thursday the 2nd, Friday the 3rd and Saturday the 4th of June we've got an exhibition at the Ice House, and that's going to be running from 11 till 7 each evening. And
we better just tell us whereabouts in Grimsby is Hope Street?
Hope Street is on the East Marsh. It's between Victor Street and Albion Street, just at the back of the high-rise flats, and it's quite a synonymous street in Grimsby.
And Carl, you were born in and presumably also bred in Hope Street.
I was. Yeah.
And you're not the only one to have been born there, because it was a health one of the earliest health centres.
Yes, I can remember pulling the terraces down and building that in about 1936-37 when they started building it, and it was opened officially in 1940.
I should forgive me if it seems like a rude question, but I should ask you which year you were born.
1927.
As I take it that you've noticed absolutely no change whatsoever since 1927 in Hope Street.
I've seen a lot of change now, you know.
You mentioned the tearing down the old terraces in the 1920s, 1930s.
In the 1930s, 36, 37, and then they started building the clinic.
And then, of course, they pulled them all down in the 1960s.
The Hope Street itself, that was 1969, 70, wasn't it? Yes. Yeah.
So we've seen three generations, three incarnations of Hope Street. The pre-1930s, the sort of through the war up to the 1960s, and then on to then.
Yeah.
And well, we'll go on. We'll talk more about it in the second half. I want to talk about that health centre, especially there. Welcome back. You're watching Estuary News. Still to come tonight, a roundup of the latest sporting action, and Claire Warrington and Carl Massey Chase will be telling me more about the Hope Street exhibition. Hull City Council's Cabinet has today given the go-ahead for a final public consultation to take place on Hull's local plan. Last year, a series of events were held to ensure residents were involved with the production of the local plan to make sure it meets the changing needs and aspirations of the city. Today's approval will allow the council to carry out a 6-week public consultation on the final version starting next Monday. The local plan is required to meet the development needs of Hull until the year 2032 and will take into account issues such as climate change, city centre living, open spaces and air quality. 4 nights of road closures will start tonight, affecting the Jocks Lodge interchange on the A1079 slip roads near Beverley. Highway engineers will be carrying out essential overnight resurfacing work on the eastbound and the westbound slip roads, which join the A164 near Beverley to the Humber Bridge Road. Both slip roads will open during the daytime as normal from 6 a.m. until 7 p.m. Traffic will be diverted via alternative junctions on the A1079. Now, I'm still with Claire Warrington from Synergy Grimsby to tell me more about a new exhibition charting the history of Grimsby's Hope Street, along with Carl Massey Chase, a resident of that street. Just tell me a little bit about your connection with this Synergy thing and where this money came from, Claire.
OK, so Synergy work with Hope Street Trust. Hope Street Trust are a charity that are based in the Hope Street Medical Centre, and they do specialist service for elderly people, falls and respiratory. And because people were coming into the medical centre, they were reminiscing about the time that it was a dentist, or the time that they brought their babies to be weighed and picked up formula milk. So the idea for a heritage project was sparked from the people coming into Hope Street Clinic. So we applied for £65,000 from the Heritage Lottery Fund, and I applied for the job and got the job. So.
Well, excellent. Well done, you.
Thank you.
I'm glad that £65,000 is available. Carl, do you remember that clinic, the old clinic?
I do. I remember it being built. That's going back a little while.
Well, that would have been in the 1930s.
The late 30s. It opened officially in 1940.
Well, I think we've got a little bit of a film we can show about health on Hope Street.
I see him building, and then when I took my kids in when they was little. We had nurses there. Right. Yeah,
and I can remember it going up because we didn't move till middle of 1940. And I think it opened in 1939, but it wasn't officially open until about 1940. And it was done for the clinic for babies, to go and be weighed and get the dried milk powder and such as that.
Yeah, I'm sure I used to go to the dentist there, if I remember rightly. Yeah, with the old gas thing.
And then later on, they put the school dentist thing in.
Claire, one of the big features of this exhibition is there's been an awful lot of genealogy.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody seems to be related to everybody else.
They are, yeah. The whole street is kind of related. We've had, as part of the funding for the past 12 months, we've had free ancestry research. So people have been coming into projects and spending time with our ancestry researcher. And yeah, they've made connections to pretty much all of the families on Hope Street. I'm even related to some of the families on Hope Street. So,
well, so if every family was related to every other family on Hope Hope Street, then it's more of a tribe than a street.
Absolutely, and that's what we're trying to do, is gather the tribes again and get everyone to come back. And we've got some guided tours as well with some little interactive characters from the past. Come and see people like Carl, who used to live on the street. You've met quite a few people from the past, haven't you?
Yeah.
And making those connections again, even like second and third generation of people that haven't lived on Hope Street but their family did. You know, you're all related, so come and see us at the exhibition. We can make connections, and then you'll all walk away with this huge big family for Christmas.
So what happened, Carl, is that if you lived on Hope Street, everybody was so devastatingly attractive that nobody ever went onto any other streets to go and find
No, not as much as that. No, they did move away.
One of the, well, of course, for every street, especially on the East Coast, the Second World War was one of the big effects, but there's one of the big drivers of the history of the street. But there's a little bit of controversy about whether or not the street did get damaged.
Well, there's a little bit, but not like it says in one of the books what they've brought out, where it was absolutely devastated, because people still came back after the war to the houses what they went to, you know, what they was living in before they went to the war.
I think we'll just have a quick look at the history of Hope Street during the Second World War.
Now I can remember the planes coming over. I remember the air raid, you know, going, you know how they go, don't you? I can remember them going in shelter.
And anyway, this day, it was wartime, and it was a 3-storey building, and I was up on the 2nd floor, and I heard this plane, and I opened the door, because there was a door there, and I looked up, and there was this bloody plane, and I could see the pilot was plain as you. It was that bloody low, with somebody else in with him. And then he went on, and they dropped the bombs at Humber Street.
Oh, I was going to Howell Street School one day, and I'm walking down Side Street, and all of a sudden the mister pushed me in a passage, and a blooming German come down machine gunning. And mister, I was going to Howell Street School though, and this German come down Tunner Street way like that, and mister pushed me in and he's machine gunned. If I'd been walking, not gone in that passage, that mister ain't to see me, I would have been machine gunned.
And having gone through all that, what do we see if we go to the site of Health Street now, Claire?
If you're in Hope Street, not much really. You've got a lot of the industry's gone. Most of the houses are gone. You've got Tom Hammond and George Jenny Way. The medical centre's still there, but the actual houses themselves, there's only one left, and it's in a right derelict state. And it used to be the bakehouse, so we've got a little character on our guided tour popping up in that place.
Is that a bit sad, Carl, that the whole street's been removed?
Yes, but I think it's a necessity at the time when they did it, because they was been up for years and years, and they're getting a bit deteriorated.
Bit of a slum.
But
yeah,
they come in that way, yes, yeah. I mean, a lot of them didn't have water laid on in the house. Outside, yes, but not indoors.
Difficult for people of our generation to imagine.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just remind us the dates and where people should go.
So the main dates are Thursday, Friday and Saturday. That's the 2nd, 3rd and 4th of June, and it's at the Ice House in Grimsby, and it's from 11 till 7 each day.
It'll be brilliant. Carl, Claire,
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Time now for the sports news. The Black and Whites moved 2 points clear at the top of the First Utilities Super League table with victory over rivals Hull KR at the Magic Weekend in Newcastle. Lee Radford's side recorded their 4th competitive win against their neighbours, scoring 5 tries at St James's Park in the final game of the Super League's showpiece event. The early Birds came from 16-10 behind in the second half to earn their 10th win in 11 games in all competitions, taking them above Warrington, Wolves and Catalans Dragons on the league ladder. Mahe Fanua claimed 2 tries in the man of the match display, whilst Mark Snyde extended his lead as the comp's top goal kicker with 4 2-pointers. Grimsby Town boss Paul Hurst is disappointed that his team weren't able to complete a double in the FA Trophy final at Wembley Stadium on Sunday afternoon, although he is reflecting on a successful season. An early second-half goal from FC Halifax Town's Scott McManus was what meant that the Mariners were unable to follow up last Sunday's promotion to the Football League with another win at the National Stadium in their final game of the season. Hull City are preparing for their game against Sheffield Wednesday on Saturday at Wembley Stadium in the Championship playoff final. Tickets are now on sale ahead of the game this weekend, and a limited number can be purchased from the Casey Stadium later this week. In cricket, Grimsby moved above Skegness into 8th place with a win over Bourne after some steady batting from Steve Crossley brought him an unbeaten 80 and took his side to 209 for 8. David Carr then took 5 wickets and Matthew Cox 4 as Bourne were all out for 156. That's it for tonight. I'm afraid we've got no weather picture this evening, though I can guarantee there will be some weather. If you have a news story, then please visit our Facebook or Twitter pages, email news@estuary.tv or phone Grimsby 01472 31 553. Or write to us at Estuary TV, Nuns Corner, Grimsby, North East Lincolnshire, DN 345BQ. Until tomorrow, good evening. Good evening, you're watching Estuary News. I'm Hugh Richards. In the headlines tonight, the government says there should be an independent inquiry into the baby ashes scandal, and we take a look ahead to Armed Forces Day in Cleethorpes. Plus on the sofa tonight, I'll be talking to my colleague Dan Kemp about all the exciting things happening recently in football, and Janie Wright from the Cottingham Springboard Festival should be here, traffic permitting. In Scunthorpe today, police and partner organisations delivered advice and materials on crime prevention as part of Operation Impact. Teams of special constables and members of the Safer Neighbourhoods team were out and about, visiting households and offering crime prevention advice, along with tools such as window and shed alarms. Chief Inspector Jenny Bristow, who was overseeing the operation in Scunthorpe, met with the teams this morning at Greason Hall Community Centre as they prepared to go out into the local community. She said this aspect of Operation Impact was important in making a difference to communities and to enable members of the community to feel safer in the long term. Witnesses are being urged to call Humberside Police with information regarding an incident in the Elsenham Road area of Grimsby on Sunday night. It's believed that passengers of a silver Ford car, which appeared to be speeding in a 30-mile-per-hour zone, were requested to slow down by a pedestrian when one of the passengers allegedly attacked the pedestrian, leaving him with numerous injuries. A 26-year-old man from Cleethorpes is currently in police custody in connection with the incident. Preparations are being made by the world's most famous aerobatic display team ahead of National Armed Forces Day next month. The Red Arrows have returned home to RAF Scampton and are now undergoing in-season practice to get themselves ready for the Cleethorpes showpiece. Dan Kemp has been along to see them.
It's a scene that's been lighting up air shows across the world for years, and this year they're coming to Cleethorpes. The Red Arrows were taking part in an in-season practice drill at RAF Scampton yesterday as they look forward to delighting the crowds at Armed Forces Day in June. Flight Lieutenant Cy Taylor is in Red 3.
So the Red Arrows specifically, we're all really excited to go and display, mainly just because it's a local display. We do displays all over the place, but it's nice to actually do one in the local area, especially Lincolnshire. And we've all been based in Lincolnshire in one way or another for a long time, so we all feel this is kind of home for us from a military point of view. I think for the Reds, especially because most of us have come off the front line reasonably recently, I personally think it's important that we remind the general public that there's lots of the armed forces that are on operations. I mean, they might see us and just think of the displays and things, but actually one of our main roles is just to remind people that there are people out in operations away from their families all year round, 24 hours a day. So I think that's quite important that we remind them of that. And Armed Forces Day goes towards that as well.
As well as the Red Arrows being based in Lincolnshire, they're also a connection within their ranks. Rob Dixon works on the ground with the team and hails from Caister.
Obviously it's close to home, so all my family and everything know about the Red Arrows. I mean, you see them flying over Grimsby and Caister and Cleethorpes and all the rest of it, so it's absolutely brilliant. The dye that you see coming out the planes, the red, white and blue, I help fill them up. And then obviously when they land, I refuel them, which is quite a responsibility because you've got to make sure the fuel's all alright, so you don't want any problems with that.
Another successful rehearsal over with, and now it's all eyes on Cleethorpes for the 25th of June.
From this week onwards, residents in North East Lincolnshire are to receive their new bus passes in a community-driven establishment. Rather than being issued new passes at the council's municipal offices, residents are now required to receive their passes from Centre 4, a community facility housing a library, cafe and a sports hall. They're working alongside the local charity Foresight in issuing bus passes to residents. Our reporter Fred McNamara has more.
The bus pass scheme is something that's available to more mature residents or retired residents of the borough, and it enables them to travel about the town at a reduced cost or free. Previously it was delivered by North East Lincolnshire Council, but I think partly for cost saving reasons, but also partly to improve the customer experience, they decided it would be better to be provided in neighbourhood venues. I think it benefits the community just by the very fact that it's linking them in to potentially other services and activities that might benefit them. For example, people, when they went for their bus pass at the municipal offices, would just go in, get their pass, come out, go about their day. When they come here, they can actually pop into the cafe, have a cup of tea, they can go to one of our older people's social clubs, the sewing group, there's a walking group on a Friday morning. They can maybe learn a new skill, maths, English, IT. They can come into the library. They can do a lot of things in one place and potentially make new friends and create new social networks for themselves. Well, I think, as I've just said, the fact that there's the potential to link into other things, but, you know, it's free. You know, that's got to be a plus, isn't it? The only time there's ever a fee is if you lose your card and you've got to have a new one. There's a £5 fee. But it's free travel for our older residents across the borough. Isn't that great?
Now I'm joined by my colleague Dan Kemp to talk about sports. Dan, welcome back to the studio. It's a while since I've seen you in here. As you know, I'm about as likely to be a sports fan as I am likely to be a Red Arrows pilot. But engage my interest concerning the future of Hull City this weekend.
Well, it's the Championship playoff final on Saturday, kicking off at 5 o'clock at Wembley. Obviously, if you know a game's been played at Wembley, you know it must be fairly serious, as Grimsby Town fans will know from the last couple of weeks. And this is a £120 million prize pot that's going to come from the winners of Hull City and Sheffield Wednesday on Saturday. They beat Derby 3-2 on aggregate to get through the semi-finals, as Sheffield Wednesday did. They beat Brighton and Hove Albion. So these two sides, obviously, a Yorkshire rivalry there as well.
So why do they have to go all the way down to the south of England to play their football match?
Where's your sense of romance, Hugh? It's the National Stadium.
90,000 of the railway tickets
90,000.
It could be halfway in between. Wouldn't that be more sensible?
Probably would be, to be fair, but it's a big day out, isn't it? 90,000 people can fit into there. They can't fit in to many other grounds in the country.
90,000 Hull supporters, you think, are going to go down there?
No, there's 90,000. It's a capacity of 90,000 at Wembley. So right. Sheffield Wednesday have already sold out their allocation of 39,000. Hull City, I believe, have sold just over 25,000, and tickets were on sale at the stadium until 5 o'clock today as well.
So they only
that might have been added to since.
They allocated only 50,000 tickets in a 90,000 seater stadium.
No, 39,000 each club.
I see.
So what we're talking there.
Okay, that's fine. No, I think that just about works.
And then you've got your corporates and your press and things like that as well.
Why will Hull City get so much money if they win it?
Well, there's a new TV deal that's coming in with the Premier League next year. More games are going to be shown on various satellite providers than ever before.
But we're not on the satellite.
Not yet.
No?
Not yet.
Well, I would say that we've saved our money in that case.
Quite possibly.
Every time I mention Steve Bruce, who is, as I'm sure you're aware, is the manager of Hull City,
Yes, he is. I promise he is. For
every
now.
time I mention him when I'm doing sports reports, then he seems to be saying that he's either confident or unconfident about having decided on who's going to be playing in his team. Is he an unusually undecisive football manager?
No, I don't think he is at all. He's obviously a vastly experienced manager. He's been at Wigan, Birmingham, Sunderland, all sorts of
he can't hold down a job
high-end Premier League clubs. Well, he has done in Hull. He's been there for 4 years, and he's already taken them up to the Premier League once. Obviously, an FA Cup final in 2014 that has never been seen before, probably will never be seen again in the city of Hull, and his successes have been pretty much unrivaled.
Now, I've noticed in the national news a lot of coverage about football managers recently. There's a Dutch gentleman who's about to be moving away from Manchester and a Portuguese gentleman who's left.
He's already left
West London.
There you go.
What is it that a manager does? I suppose during the week when they're not actually playing the games, he's the chap who lays out all the little plastic cones that they run around to make them get their leg muscles
Well,
faster.
they've got their own they've got their own staff to be in charge of cone management now as well.
Really?
Yeah.
So what does the manager do?
They're selecting
organises the drinks at half-time and the oranges and things like that.
Slicing the half-time oranges.
Yeah.
No, it's obviously there's a lot more to it nowadays. There's budgets and things like that. They've got to think about the salary, I suppose, the amount they've got to spend that's provided to them by the chairman of the club. They've got to think where to, I suppose, use that. They've also got to think of the tactics. They've got to scout out the opposition.
Tactics, it's not warfare, you know, Dan. It's only a game. Grimsby Town is active as well. Grimsby Town has had a piece of good news about 10 days ago and a piece of more disappointing news last weekend.
A new football league club now, Grimsby Town, for 6 years away in the non-league. It's a massive achievement for the club, having been down there for 120 years. They hadn't been out of the football league. Now they are. So obviously with that comes huge responsibility, money, and I suppose aspiration as well of the area. It's brilliant for the area, but it means they need to be going up even higher. And they're a bigger football club than the division they're even going into now, really.
So are they going to be making even more money?
They should be, yeah. I spoke to John Fenty last week and he said it was around £1.2 million extra.
John Fenty is the majority shareholder.
Majority shareholder, I think, is
so we don't like the word owner or proprietor or anything like that.
Well, there are other people that have interest in the club as well. But he's obviously the one with the biggest interest.
And you're optimistic about, I believe they're known as the Mariners, or sometimes Town.
Town, or, yeah, I'd go with both of those.
Very much on the streets with this.
I think they could probably push a top half finish next year, bearing in mind.
And then they could move up into whatever's above the league after that.
Yeah, and then the next league.
Thank you very much. You've been quite fascinating. Join me after the break when we'll have more of the day's news and we'll have a roundup of all the latest, even more sporting action. Welcome back. You're watching Estuary News. Still to come tonight, we'll have all the latest sports news and we'll be taking a look at what residents at St Andrew's Hospice have been doing to celebrate Children's Hospice Week. A public consultation starts tomorrow to have your say on the future of the East Riding Library Service. After approval by the Council's Cabinet to proceed with consultation, the public will now get their opportunity to comment on the way the service will be altered. It'll run from Wednesday the 25th of May until Wednesday the 3rd of August. Residents are being encouraged to take part in the latest stage of consultation, whether or not they're users of the libraries and the multi-service centres. Hull City Council has been presented with a special plaque from the Duke of Edinburgh Award charity by a celebrity supporter. Mountaineer Alan Hinks, OBE, acknowledged Hull City Council's commitment to the awards and thanked it for giving young people the opportunity to transform their lives. The Duke of Edinburgh is celebrating its diamond anniversary throughout 2016, having supported millions of young people in the UK and across the globe since it was founded in 1956. Amy Johnson will return to Sowerby Hall in Bridlington 80 years after her death. The Hull-born aviatrix officially opened the site to the public in 1936, and now on the 1st of June 2016, 80 years later to the day, she will appear once more as an actress, retraces her steps and recreates her speech from the day. The event's being held to commemorate her work and celebrate her life. This is Children's Hospice Week, with activities up and down the country to raise awareness of children with life-shortening conditions. And one of those activities took place today in Grimsby. The Butterfly Tea Party at St Andrew's Hospice saw families taking part in butterfly craft activities, cake decoration and more, which provided a fun day for all involved. Our reporter Fred McNamara went along to find out more.
It's Children's Hospice Week this week, which is organised by Together for Short Lives. It's a charity which we've always supported every year at St Andrews. And one of the themes they're running this year is to have a butterfly tea party, which is what we've done today. So we've organised butterfly crafts. We've also got cake decorating on a butterfly theme. It's been open to the public today as well as the patients. So we've had children from the unit in enjoying themselves. We're also open to the public to showcase this lovely new building that we have and for them to see the good work that we're doing here. And we've been very lucky today. We've also had Snap's photo booth that volunteered their time for us, taking selfies for the children. They've all been dressing up and having lots of fun with that.
We enjoy coming here because Ebony gets to play with all the other children. Really enjoy it. It gives us a bit of a break as well. She runs off and plays with other children, so love it, don't we?
It's been fun because Ebony got to do craft work and she got to make some cakes.
Well, seeing everybody having such a lovely time, there's been lots of smiles, lots of fun with the dressing up, and very much enjoying the cakes, which is really great.
I'm sorry, a bit of a technical error there. Maybe we'll hope to hear more about that in a moment or two. Janie White from the Springboard Festival in Cottingham, the music festival, hasn't been able to make it, a bit of music there. So Fred has been able to join me in the studio to talk about, well, maybe tell us what we missed about that story about the Children's Hospice at St Andrews. Fred, what sort of day was it? Did you enjoy it?
Yes, I did enjoy it. It was just a lovely little day, something for all the family to enjoy really, but again, more to raise awareness about children's life-shortening illnesses that children do suffer from in the area. But it was a very, very enjoyable event.
Good. Well, you'd think it'd be a little bit gloomy, a children's hospice. You know, death and youth are not things that should be going together. But I suppose that's the whole point of the hospice, is that it doesn't make it so glum.
That is kind of the point, yeah. But going back to St Andrews, that little place itself, as a literal establishment, crushes all stereotypes, I think. It was such a fantastic, warm, inviting area. The building itself, and as the events as well, obviously, but the building itself was such an inviting environment. So it was a great place to host that kind of event, I think.
We often have people from the hospice sitting with exactly where you're sitting today, and they're usually trying to raise money in one form or another. Were they raising money today?
I believe they were, yes, all towards finding out more about how to cure these life-shortening illnesses that children do receive. But the main focus was to just have fun, I believe, today.
I think it's surprising that the children's part of the hospice covers, of St Andrew's Hospital in Grimsby, covers not just the southern part of Humberside and northern Lincolnshire, but also the East Riding of Yorkshire, whereas they've got their own adult hospice up there, but the Grimsby Hospice has to look after everybody. And they've only got 4 beds, but they look after several hundred families.
So they're cut out for their work, aren't they?
They are cut out for their work, and good for all their volunteers.
Yes.
Now, the other story you were covering today, you've had a busy day, Fred.
Yes.
You've been talking about bus passes, also in North East Lincolnshire, where we don't send you to too many parts of the country on the same day. Why has the council been given the Centre for people the task of issuing bus passes?
I believe it's to open up a more inviting environment for the more elderly citizens in the community. Up till now, they've been going to, I think it was the minority offices, municipal offices, sorry, and the council, I think, whereas Centre 4 is barely an office at all. I spent the morning there, and sort of the other end of the spectrum of the tea party, like St Andrews, the building itself offers so much activities for citizens to take part in. You don't just get your bus pass there, you can indulge in a lovely little cafe, a gorgeous library and sports halls, and so many other things as well. It caters to not just filling out a bit of paperwork to get your new bus pass. It enlightens the community.
Oh, okay. Well, it makes a piece of bureaucracy a bit more enjoyable, as it were.
Exactly,
That's what
yes.
you say.
I think that's kind of the point as well.
You better tell us where it is. I just emphasise it's a little while before I'm going to need a bus pass.
Yes.
Whereabouts is it?
It's near Sutcliffe Avenue, not a mile from the Grimsby Institute itself. just down the road.
OK, the Grimsby Institute isn't necessarily the centre of the universe, but it is a good reference point to have then. What do you think about this idea of things that the government should be regulating and organising being delegated by them to independent organisations?
Well, there's good and bad to it, I suppose. Such independent organisations as Centre 4, I think, are perhaps more in tune with what the local community needs, because after all, they're a local organisation. But at the same time, I don't think that should really prevent the government itself from having an input into the local community, because that's also their job, really, isn't it, to know what's happening in their local community as much as local facilities itself.
Well, if Centre 4 is more in tune with the local community than the local government of that local community, then, well, I would suggest that maybe we should have a word with the local government. But I invite them onto Hot Topic as frequently as possible. They don't always want to come. Well, thank you very much, Fred. Plans for tomorrow? What are you covering tomorrow? What can you expect in tomorrow's programme from you?
Plans tomorrow. St Paul's Church, I believe that's his name. I'll find out tomorrow.
Okay.
I believe that's his name. Is celebrating its 150th anniversary tomorrow, I believe. I'll be popping down there to cover that story.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Fred. 150-year-old church. That must be one of the youngest churches in the country.
Yes, quite.
Thank you very much, Fred.
That's all right.
Time now for the sport. Hull City goalkeeper Alan McGregor is a major doubt for Saturday's playoff final. That's according to manager Steve Bruce, the decisive one who's been speaking to the press today ahead of the game against Sheffield Wednesday at Wembley. But he says he's confident in his deputy Eldin Jakupovic.
It's fair to say if he doesn't train Thursday, then which by all accounts today he was nowhere near. So it looks as if Alan will not make it. Well, of course, it's a big loss because he's a very, very experienced, good goalkeeper. The one thing about being in the playoffs, or the position cemented, is we've been able to play Eldon. He's played the 2 semis. He's played 2 league games before that. We've been able to play him in the cup competitions. So I've got no qualms of playing him at all. An experienced goalkeeper who's kept himself in good nick. Of course, you'd like everybody fit, and that goes with Alan too. But in Eldon and Duzan, we've got able replacements, which I'm sure will be okay.
The most successful management team in the history of North Ferriby United has today departed the club. Billy Heath and Mark Carroll took the Villagers from the Northern League to the National League via an FA Trophy win in just 5 years. It's been confirmed by the club today that they've both joined Halifax Town following their relegation to the National League North. Grimsby Town midfielder John Nolan has today left the club and joined Chesterfield following the end of his Mariners deal. He was part of the side that won Town promotion back to the Football League and was also involved in this Sunday's loss to Halifax. Danny East and John Paul Pittman, along with young goalkeeper Callan Bastock, have also left the club today. Hull FC's win over Hull KR at the Magic weekend was a record 4th competitive win in a row against their East Hull opponents. They beat their cross-city rivals 28-16 in Newcastle on Sunday to set the record for the Super League era. Meanwhile, it's been announced that over 3,500 Hull FC supporters watched the match, a new record for the event. And finally, with the Black and Whites for now, their away game at Warrington, scheduled for Sunday, June the 12th, will now be played on Friday, June the 10th, with an 8 o'clock kick-off, something to do with television. That's it for tonight. No weather picture, I do apologise for that. And if you have a news story, Facebook, Twitter, Estuary.tv, or phone Grimsby 01472 31 55553. Until tomorrow, good evening. Good evening, you're watching Estuary News. I'm Hugh Richards. In the headlines tonight, the fate of Grimsby's Fishstocks historic buildings, how a local pocket park is planned to strengthen the community in Grimsby, and my guests tonight are Daisy Morgan, locally based children's author, and Jade Smith, a publisher, to help tell us about their magical books. Hull's big year as City of Culture in 2017 has received an additional £3 million funding boost from the Heritage Lottery Fund. The new funding is a further contribution to the ambitious programme, which will bring a wide range of events and activities rooted in heritage across the city to entertain, delight and challenge. The Heritage Lottery Fund's backing will help Hull 2017 show off and celebrate the city, its landscape, architecture and its people in new and imaginative ways. The £3 million investment is intended to help make a positive impact on Hull's public profile and economic well-being. The funding would also enable the city's museums, archives, libraries and heritage learning services to host an ambitious programme of events and create long-term benefits for residents. The government has announced that an independent inquiry into infant cremations in Hull should be launched. A growing number of bereaved parents have come forward in recent months stating that their baby's ashes were stored without their consent. Earlier this year, the cooperative Funeral Care admitted storing the ashes of more than 50 babies. Hull North MP Diana Johnson said Justice Secretary Michael Gove's recommendation was a victory for parents, but that it was regrettable that the independent inquiry had only been announced after a 12-month campaign. Campaigner Tina Trohill, whose son William's ashes were scattered without her knowledge or consent back in 1993, has been lobbying Hull City Council for over a year. Here's what she had to say when I interviewed her recently on Hot Topic.
Both local and national inquiry. There does need to be a national inquiry, and I think there needs to be an inspector of crematoria. Not many people know that there isn't an inspector of crematoria in England. Scotland, on the back of their inquiry, is now actually employed an inspector of crematoria. They could look at things such as training and to make sure, I mean, in Hull, there's a crematorium just outside of Hull, and again, they will say they did cremations of babies and didn't collect any ashes. They didn't store them, they just didn't collect them. But a local inquiry, I feel, would be the only way forward in Hull.
A Grimsby charity has successfully secured part of a £1.5 million fund to create the town's own pocket park. Care for All will convert a section of Grant Thorold Park into Buffalo Bill's Wild West Pocket Park, and its aim is to breathe new life into the park for the local community, as well as to educate young people about the sustainability of nature and presumably cowboys. Our reporter Fred McNamara has the story.
The journey started in 1904, and it might seem strange to go back that far about what's going to happen today, but in 1904, Grant Thorold Park officially opened. Lo and behold, at Five Ways Roundabout, a few hundred yards away, Buffalo Bill and his Wild West show was over there, and this is the reason why we've called this pocket park Buffalo Bill's Pocket Park, because he attended the park on that particular day and he set the train in motion of where we are today. And today is really about promoting the environment and what goes with the environment. Youngsters really are starved of the environment in this area, and behind us we've created a fantastic environmental experience for youngsters to learn about the environment. We've got butterflies coming back in the droves and finches, different birds, so really we're creating an environmental experience for youngsters.
Basically what we're wanting to do is encourage people from the local community to come and use this area again. The Pocket Park idea was to get people who live in an urban area who don't get the chance to connect with nature to have an opportunity to do that, and that's what we've done, and we're all about the community. We're wanting them to come and use it, give us ideas of what they want us to do, and we'll carry that forward.
Over the years this park has sort of declined and it's been vandalised as such. We want to make sure we're grabbing the youngsters and coming into this park and making sure they care about the environment. Over the next few weeks I'll be going out into schools, talking to them about the park and how they can get involved in it. as such. And it's very important that youngsters appreciate the environment. And that's one of the reasons why we set up a pond a few yards away to make sure we get wildlife coming back into the park with frogs, newts and toads, whatever. And we really want to get as much nature back into this area. We want to increase the biodiversity, which we already have. We've got dozens of different trees planted out there, and we want to make sure that youngsters know all the reasons why we're doing this. And we want them to be involved as such, to take it in a different direction maybe. We want them to come up with ideas. Do they want a wigwam building in here? Or do they want something else? Do they want a stagecoach? We want to be talking to them to make sure they come up with the best ideas for the sustainability of this park.
I would say the best thing about this project is getting the young people involved and enjoying the park again. It's had a bit of a bad rep before, people tend to avoid it, but as a local resident I've definitely seen an increase in people coming in and enjoying the area, and we want that to continue.
To me, the best thing about it is the youngsters coming into the park early in the morning. You can see them now running up to totem poles, having selfies taken with the totem poles, and it's the experience of a new place, if you get what I mean. And to be honest, their faces are really saying all to me. All the hard work that we've put in over the last few weeks and months has been really worthwhile to see those faces of joy.
Now, The Magical World of Finley is a series of children's books written by local Lincolnshire author Daza Morgan, who joins me now, along with Jade Smith, who I introduced earlier on as a publisher. But that wasn't quite right, Jade. Forgive me. You better put me right on what your role is.
It's okay. I'm a creative and sales director. I help Daza Morgan, it's the both of us, to create The Magical World of Finley children's books and gifts.
OK, well, you better just tell us, since you're the marketing person here, you'll know better than Daza, because authors never know what they're up to. You've got some signing sessions coming up and some opportunities to come and meet the author.
Yes, very exciting opportunities to meet Daza Morgan herself and get to know about the 4 books that are out at the moment under the Magical World of Finley children's book series. We've brought them here today.
Discovery, Tom's Time Tunnel Quest, we like alliteration on this programme,
yes.
Sam's Future Awaits, and Aziza's Bubble Adventure.
Brilliant, yes. So this weekend on Saturday we are at Downtown Superstore in Grantham for 2 hours, which is our first opportunity to be there. They're our new stockist. And then in June we've actually been invited to some London studios for another TV appearance with Daza, and at every book signing event. But
around here you will be in Grantham, at Pennells in Cleethorpes,
yeah, Pennells in
Willoughby,
Cleethorpes.
Boston,
yeah,
places like that.
Yeah, the list goes on.
Daza, this is your creation, this is your protagonist, Doddle the bear.
He is, yes.
You better tell me about his slightly strange name.
His name, Doddle, means doing ordinary deeds lovingly.
A very fine sentiment. And
yes.
What sort of impact does he have on the characters he meets in his adventures?
He visits children in their dreams, and he invites them to go to the Magical World of Finley, which is an eco-world. So they get introduced to sustainability, ecology, but it's also magical. They also go through a time tunnel with him, so they can visit the past and the future. So in Tom's book, for instance, Tom's been bullied by his classmates. He's lost his mum, his mum's died. But he's a very caring young man, and Doddle knows this. And so he invites Tom to go to the Magical World of Finley, and he shows him his future, where he needs a caring attitude to be able to build a hospice-type building that is going to build in the future to help children. So he tells him, you need a caring attitude now, so don't be put off by bullying. Just keep going, keep learning.
Shades of Christmas future here.
Yeah.
Christmas Carol, isn't it?
So Doddle's an inspiration to children.
And it's a benevolent inspiration.
Yes.
It's a great encouragement.
Yeah.
And you were inspired to start writing these books when you were living in what's known as an eco house in Scotland.
Yes, yeah. I enjoyed every moment of it. The 3 years went by far too quickly. But being in a community of about 350 people, of artists, musicians, poets, writers, sculptors, when you're in that environment, creativity seems to come a lot easier because you can just sit down, and I was by the beach, by the bay with the dolphins.
Well, if in that company you feel a bit guilty if you're not producing something. I suppose.
Exactly, exactly.
We'll come back and talk about it a little further in the second half. Please don't go away. Join me after the break when we'll have more of the day's news and we'll have a roundup of all the latest sporting action. Welcome back. You're watching Estuary News. Still to come tonight, a roundup of the latest sporting action and more from my guests Daisy Morgan and Jade Smith. 37 brand new properties have been snapped up by Shoreline in one of the housing charity's largest purchases. Two major developments, the Quarter in Scartho near Grimsby and the landmark Par 3 development in Humberston, will now benefit from a supply of affordable accommodation. 15 two-bedroom and 6 three-bedroom homes at the Quarter will be built, and 14 two-bedroom and 2 three-bedroom homes will be built at Humberston. These will be a mix of rental accommodation and popular shared ownership, part rent, part buy properties. Mark Jones, Shoreline's Director of Property, said these will be first-class affordable properties, and he's delighted that the organisation is able to increase its housing stock across North East Lincolnshire. Shoreline was recently nominated in the Local Authority Building Control South Yorkshire and Humber Building Awards 2016 for the Murfin Court development in Cleethorpes. Beverley Library is launching a scheme to support the 1 in 10 people in East Yorkshire who have a diagnosable mental health condition by providing expert-endorsed books. Reading Well for Young People is a national initiative, part of the Reading Well Books on Prescription scheme, providing 13 to 18-year-olds with high-quality information, support and advice on a wide range of mental health issues. These books will be available from the library tomorrow. The library hopes to make a real difference to the lives of young people. Customers took advantage of a bargain fish and chip deal yesterday as a popular East Yorkshire chippy celebrated 50 years since the restaurant chain was launched in Margate in Kent. Papa's in Willoughby sold 3,000 portions of the nation's favourite dish for 50p, the price it was back in 1966. Extra staff were called in to accommodate the influx of customers, and another delivery of fish was brought in at lunchtime to meet demand. Now, still with me in the studio, not with any fish and chips, I'm afraid, are Daisy Morgan and Jade Smith talking about the magical Fingly world. We were saying that it tends to be something that encourages people to be, children to take a warm and kindly approach to the world.
Yes.
Do they think they need it? Are our children? Do you think they need it? Are our children a bunch of horrors?
I think some children rely too much on Xbox and in isolation in bedrooms, connected to other children via the Wi-Fi system or whatever.
I think quite a lot of adults do as well.
They do, and I think it'd be a good idea. I know some children do write their own stories because we've met some of them along our travels, and some even illustrate them as well.
That's something I was going to ask about. Jade, you're involved in this as well because you're at these events that you encourage children to be creative themselves. It's not just a matter of reading Daisy's books, it's a matter of writing their own.
Yeah, so get dressed up, come to our workshops, book signing events. We've got one in Grantham this weekend. We have another one in Pennells in August and another one at the Well Bookshop in Scunthorpe in
Okay,
July.
that's enough marketing. You've got all these fantastic merchandise, I suppose is what it is as well. Now that's Doddle. He's the one with the pink paws or the purple paws.
Purple paws.
They're made purple by some special crystal he has. I can't reach it. Can you reach that crystal? Okay, and that's for sale. How much would you be paying to get that for your child?
Well, it depends. This one is £9.95.
Okay.
It's the amethyst crystal, which, like I say, special words turn his paws purple.
Excellent. Okay, let's not have any spoilers. And you've got bears in sacks as well, for reasons that are only apparent if you buy the books and read them, because we don't want to destroy the plot.
Yes.
You also have this rather splendid idea of making the books interactive in a rather wonderfully old-fashioned way. That, you know, there are word searches and quizzes and things like that in the back.
Yes.
What's the idea there?
Yes, to keep the children occupied. Once they've read the book, the story, the word searches always relate to the story. So they're all different in each book, but it keeps the children occupied if they're on a long journey in the car, on a train journey or in a plane. So that's one of the reasons why we've done that.
We do need to find things to keep children quiet on
We
trains
do.
and planes,
Yeah.
don't
And
we?
the
And
story
anaesthetics aren't
doesn't
allowed.
The
Sorry,
story
Chief.
continues.
The story continues, I see.
It ends, but you've got so much more to do after.
What sort of ages are we looking at here? Who are we looking for? Who are we aiming at?
Key stage 1 and 2, so 7 to 11.
Okay.
They can read them themselves, but younger children, they can be read to younger children and they will understand them.
And I guess you would say that it's important that they get into the habit at that age of reading books, and preferably reading ink on paper books, not just looking at screens.
Yeah, absolutely, but we do both.
Yes, you do. Well, go on, Jade. You better one more bit of marketing. How do people get their hands on your ebooks?
So to visit fingley.com, which is Fingley, and all of our ebooks are online through Amazon, Waterstone, Hive, all different retailers, including the new One Lincolnshire, which has been set up for Lincolnshire businesses.
Excellent. Okay, thank you very much. It's an absolute delight to meet Doddle, and good luck with all the signings and good luck with the sales.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Grimsby Town are back in the Football League. North Ferriby United have made it to their highest position ever, and on Saturday it's Hull City's chance to make it a Humber hat-trick. They take on Sheffield Wednesday at Wembley in the richest game in football, the Championship playoff final, where the winners gain promotion to the Premier League. Dan Kemp takes a look ahead.
It's all about the numbers. Hull City have visited Wembley 4 times in their history, 4 times in the last 8 years, and are unbeaten in 19 minutes. They've been to one playoff final before. That was their first trip to the National Stadium back in 2008, where they beat Bristol City. Manager Steve Bruce has been to one playoff final in the past. That was 14 years ago when his Birmingham side won against Norwich on penalties. The omens are looking good for City to make an instant return to the top table of English football. Here is the aforementioned Steve Bruce on Saturday's opponents, Sheffield Wednesday.
It's the best Sheffield Wednesday team I've seen for a long time. They've quietly gone about their business with new owners, they've got new manager in, new players, a new group of players, and up the top end of the pitch they've got some very, very good players. So I'm not surprised that Sheffield are there. They'll take a huge following. So it should be a cracking atmosphere, and always, as we've said many times, a big occasion.
Curtis Davis and Robert Snodgrass are 2 of the more experienced players that Bruce is relying on to bring them through. Davis was part of the side that played in the 2014 FA Cup final for the Tigers.
I think it helps, obviously, that the arena and the occasion won't really get to the players that played in that game and obviously played in the semi-final, but at the same time it doesn't mean it's going to be any easier for us, because when we went to play Arsenal, obviously they've got some massive players in their team that have played in big games in European Championships, played in World Cups. Playing in front of the Emirates every week is tough enough. So on that day it was just about coming out and being a stronger team from the beginning, and we were that, but unfortunately that day we couldn't hold on. So I'd like to think we could hopefully finish the job this time.
On a day we proved against Burnley, against Middlesbrough, we've beaten them both comfortably on a day, so we can't get in there thinking about the games that we've not done well in. We need to obviously realise that we're a good side. We'll work hard this week. We'll put things obviously into action come Saturday.
It's the richest game in football. To the winner, an approximate £120 million windfall, and to the loser, another year in the second tier.
And more sports now. As you've been hearing, Hull City are preparing for the Championship playoff final down in London on Saturday. The club have confirmed today that tickets continue to be sold from the away supporters bar at the KC Stadium to be purchased in person. Meanwhile, winger Ahmed El Mohammadi is looking forward to making it a Wembley hat-trick at the weekend. He hopes for a 3rd appearance there for the Tigers, having played at the National Stadium twice for the club in 2014. Grimsby Town have now announced the full list of players leaving the club ahead of their return to the Football League. Craig Clay, Andy Monkhouse and Gregor Robertson are amongst the bigger names to be leaving, while John Nolan will also depart. He's joined League One club Chesterfield. Padraig Armand, Craig Disley and James McKeown have all been offered new deals with the Mariners, as well as senior players Toto Nsiala, Richard Tate and Nathan Arnold. The fixtures for both Town and Scunthorpe United will be released a month today. The Football League have announced fixtures for the 2016-17 season will be released on Wednesday, June the 22nd. The newly branded Sky Bet EFL will kick off on the weekend of Saturday, August the 6th, and will be followed by the first round of the League Cup the week commencing August the 8th. Hull FC coach Lee Radford says he's not looking beyond this weekend's game, despite the Black and Whites now leading Super League. FC take on St Helens on Saturday afternoon as the two sides remember their former player, Steve Prescott, who died in 2013. They'll be competing for the Steve Prescott Cup, as well as the 2 points in the game at the Casey Stadium, which will be followed by the under-23 sides from both clubs facing off. That's it for tonight. Just time to tell you quickly about East Lindsey District Council, who are still deciding on whether to evict some very noisy neighbours in Tetney, the Tetney peacocks. The council has received a series of complaints regarding the noise of the peacocks and are calling on the owners to collect them by tomorrow, or the birds will be removed. We'll bring you the latest developments on that story tomorrow. If you want to get in touch with us, then please do so Facebook or Twitter. Quick look at the picture from Zachary England, aged 8, of William Barcroft Junior School in Cleethorpes Pier, I think. If you've a new story, Facebook or Twitter, email news@estuary.tv or phone 01472 31 553. Until tomorrow, good evening. Good evening, you're watching Estuary News. I'm Hugh Richards. In the headlines tonight, a historic church is marking a milestone birthday, Hull Royal Infirmary's latest recruitment drive, and the Humberside Police and Crime Commissioner's views on new legislation on legal highs. And a little later, I'll be joined by Debbie Matthews and Danny Allman to talk about their collaboration in providing free legal advice. But before that, in the studio, my guest is Graham Bassett from the Great Grimsby Ice Factory Trust to discuss the future of the town's historic fish docks. But first, the news. New legislation on so-called legal highs comes into force today, and Humberside Police and Crime Commissioner Keith Hunter has given his support to the new legislation. The Psychoactive Substances Act will introduce a blanket ban on the production, supply and importation of new psychoactive substances, commonly referred to as legal highs. Prosecution may lead to a prison sentence of up to 7 years. Keith Hunter said that the new legislation takes some steps to ensure people don't use them, but part of the issue is education on the serious effects some of these substances can have, sometimes more dangerous than traditional drugs. He also said that a strong educational process needs to be in place with local authorities to teach people using these substances that there are different ways that they can be happy. 2 men aged 24 and 25 have been arrested in Scunthorpe on suspicion of being involved in the supply of drugs as part of Humberside Police's Operation Impact. A Misuses of Drugs Act warrant was executed at an address on Ferry Road in Scunthorpe. During a search, a small amount of drugs were recovered, along with money believed to be linked to criminality. Lincolnshire Police have arrested a 35-year-old man from Cleethorpes on suspicion of a garage burglary in Halton-le-Clay. The arrest comes as police have increased patrols as part of Operation Aardwolf to crack down on shed and garage burglaries in the north of the county. Hull Royal Infirmary has been hosting an open day today to encourage more people to work for the NHS in the city. Hull and East Yorkshire Hospital's NHS Trust is looking to combat the national recruitment crisis within the sector by selling the city, and not just the hospitals within it, to prospective doctors and nurses. Dan Kemp has been at the Trust's Clinical Skills facility today to see what's been going on.
It's been a day to celebrate success and give a glimpse of the future to potential new recruits looking at working in Hull Royal Infirmary. The Trust have been hosting the event to promote themselves and try to build on the 100 students they've already recruited in the last 2 months since the remarkable campaign got underway.
There's a kind of decreasing number of staff in certain areas, so some areas are very difficult to recruit to, and there's more and more trusts kind of fishing in the same pool of staff really, so there's lots more trusts looking in the same areas for nursing staff, for theatre staff, for clinical support staff such as like therapies and things like that, and radiographers. So, you know, we realise that we have to kind of make sure that we're giving the right message to people and attracting the right people to come and work in, you know, our hospitals, which we know provide really good care, and also this area, which is, you know, an area on the up.
Rachel Coupland is one of the poster girls for the new campaign and works in the radiology department. She's been helping to promote her specialism to potential new recruits.
I'd say it's a great career. I'd still do it. Obviously in the media it's not great at the moment. We are very short staffed, so it would be lovely if people could come. But it's such a good career path. You can go anywhere with it. Like training in the NHS, something like radiography you can do worldwide. So you could work here and then you could go to like Australia and do something amazing across there. So it's just like a starting block for a lot of people, but I love it, and I think it's a really good career to go into.
It's difficult sometimes to attract people to come and work in certain areas, but we know that Hull's an area on the up. You know, City of Culture 2017, we're seeing that kind of reflected in the fact that people do want to come and work here, and we just want to tell people that, you know, it's a good place to work, and, you know, that we provide a good service.
A church in Cleethorpes is celebrating its 150th anniversary in blooming good style. St Peter's Church will mark a century and a half with a range of activities, starting with a flower festival, which takes place between the 3rd and the 6th of June. Other celebrations include concerts, talks and visiting bishops, always moving diagonally. Our reporter Fred McNamara went along to St Peter's to find out more.
Well, welcome to St Peter's. We're looking forward to the month of June, and the beginning of the month of June we will be celebrating the 150th anniversary of St Peter's, and we will be having a marvellous flower festival. The whole church will be filled with flowers, and there will be a blaze, and there will be different scenes from different ages of St Peter's church life. On the Sunday, Bishop Christopher, the diocesan bishop, will be coming to celebrate and preach at the United Service to celebrate. He is the patron of St Peter's, and he will be coming, and we're delighted to welcome Bishop Christopher. And following the flower festival, which goes on until the Tuesday, then we will be having family history. St Peter's was built as a result of the railways coming to Cleethorpes, and so there's a tremendous amount of history from 1866 through until 2016.
Now, we reported yesterday that plans to demolish historic buildings on Grimsby's old fish docks will go ahead, despite strong opposition from campaigners. At a meeting held yesterday at North East Lincolnshire Council, the Planning Committee approved ABP's plans for the Casbah site to be demolished. I'm joined now in the studio by Graham Bassett from the Great Grimsby Ice Factory Trust to discuss what this decision will mean for the future of the ice house. Graham, welcome. I presume you're rather disappointed by this decision.
We are disappointed that the decision was made to support the demolition. We're pleased that 4 of the councillors supported our view that demolition should not go ahead, and we're also pleased that this has generated a groundswell of public opinion against the demolition.
So you don't think the Casbah is, all hope is not faded, as it were?
There's always hope. Obviously, ABP had powers under the law to demolish. This committee was basically looking to see whether they should intervene, and we would hope that the council will still intervene. There are powers that they can invoke even at this point.
Are there other routes that you can go? Is there a legal route? Is there a route through the courts?
I think a route through the courts would be not productive. What we hope is that North East Lincolnshire Council, there are still powers in the Town and Country Planning Act to bring about what's called an Article 4, just to actually bring the decision to demolish back for another look.
Now, a lot of people who aren't familiar with Grimsby or familiar with Grimsby Docks won't know quite what the Casbah is. What is it?
Okay, the Casbah is a name for a group of buildings, a group of Victorian buildings. They're the last representation of the docks in the heyday when they were a sprawling community. And English Heritage and the Victorian Society think that these buildings are an important representation of the fishing industry as it was in the Victorian times.
They're interesting then, but are they attractive?
It all depends on what you mean by attractive. The picturesque, and as you know, the ice factory is a listed building. Part of the reason for the ice factory's listing is that it's the last Victorian ice factory with its equipment still intact within the original surroundings. So obviously those buildings provide a context for the ice factory.
What is it that, the ice factory itself is safe though, in that it's ever
listed,
safe?
Yes.
What, if the Casbah goes, what is it that ABP wants to put there instead?
I believe they want to open the space up for wind farm storage or something to do with the wind farm industry. It's not entirely clear what they want to do there. And obviously we understand ABP, any business would want to operate with a clean slate, and if there are no buildings in the way, it makes things a lot easier for them to operate.
Well, some might put the argument that the past should make way for the future, and renewable energy is so crucial to any hopes of the future in this area that maybe nothing should be allowed to stand in its way.
Well, we support the renewables industry. We just think that also you need to support the past as well, and the past is an intrinsic part of this town.
The ice house itself, I know a few years ago you attempted to get some, I think it was lottery money, wasn't it?
It was, £12 million lottery bid.
And sadly you didn't have the winning ticket on that occasion.
Yes.
Yeah, but there's still that's protected. Mm-hmm. What possible use could there be for the Casbah in the future?
The Casbah, it could become a fishing beamish. It's a representation of the buildings as they were in the Victorian era.
Beamish?
In the same way that Beamish is a representation of a mining village, you could have a representation of a fishing community. But at the moment, if the buildings aren't there, then you can't suggest another use for them.
Graham, thank you very much and good luck with the further preservations.
Thank you.
Join me after the break when we'll have more of the day's news and we'll have a roundup of all the latest sporting action. Welcome back. You're watching Estuary News. Still to come tonight, I'll be talking to Debbie Matthews and Danny Allman about a new partnership, and we'll have all the latest sporting action. An apprentice from Hull Training and Education has been named as Apprentice of the Year at the East Yorkshire Hospital's NHS Trust's Golden Hearts Award. Apprentice painter and decorator Jamie Lee Lister, 19, from Hull, has already had success winning at the Health Education England Talent for Care Awards and runner-up for Young Builder of the Year. The ceremony took place at Willoughby Manor in East Yorkshire last Friday, and it was the first time they'd included this category in the awards. Assistant City Manager for Young People's Skills and Employability, Gary Parkinson, said that Jamie Lee's achievements have been really impressive, and she's a role model for other young people who are thinking of a career in the construction sector. Normanby Hall Country Park near Scunthorpe has received a 2016 TripAdvisor Certificate of Excellence for the first time. It comes after reviews from its visitors over the past year and delivering a high-quality customer experience. Now in its 6th year, the TripAdvisor Achievement celebrates hospitality businesses that have earned great traveller reviews on the site over the last 12 months. The Certificate of Excellence accounts for the quality, quantity and freshness of reviews submitted by travellers. North Lincolnshire Councillor Carl Sherwood, Cabinet Member for Health and Wellbeing, said that the award is a brilliant achievement and congratulated the staff at Normanby Hall. A series of exciting events by North Lincolnshire Council will mark the 400th anniversary of Shakespeare's death after the council was awarded a £21,500 grant from Arts Council England. The Shakespeare event will kick off on Saturday the 11th of June with a parade led by artist Jessica Voorsanger as William Shakespeare, along with Tudor music group De Mowbray's Music, spelt with a CK at the end. A range of events will take place over the next couple of months as part of the project, including creative coding workshops led by artists Genetic Moo, theatre workshops and author visits. Now, in a bid to improve justice for all, Hull-based law firm James Legal Solicitors is working in partnership with Humbercare to provide free legal advice to adults and to young people. Humbercare was established to work with the Humberside Probation Trust and works to educate, rehabilitate and promote the mental and moral improvement of offenders and homeless individuals. And to tell me more about this collaboration, I'm joined in the studio by Debbie Matthews, family lawyer at James Legal, and Danny Allman, manager at Humbercare's Centre for Assessment and Emergency Accommodation. What a long title you have, Danny. Thank you both very much for coming in.
You're welcome.
Just tell me a little bit about the history of Humbercare. I was suggesting there that it's all about rehabilitation of offenders, but it's a little bit more than that, Danny, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, Humbercare's been sort of active now for 26 years. We started working predominantly with offenders, and basically now we've got a wide variety of service users, you know, well over 1,000 now that are in the service. We do have a homeless assessment centre, which is basically where the legal surgery is going to take place. But like I said, within Humbercare itself, we deal with a wide variety of different types of clients. They might be homeless, we have people with issues with mental health, everything across the spectrum that we work with, yeah.
You better, before we go on, tell us where and when people can get this advice.
We're going to do that once a month. It's going to be on the last Friday of each month between 10 and 12, and that's going to be based at Westbourne House, which is the assessment centre.
In Hull, whereabouts
in
Hull?
Hull, yeah, it's 123 Princess Avenue, Westbourne House in Hull, yeah.
And Debbie, what's James's contribution to this?
Well, at James Legal, we believe everybody should have access to justice. With the legal aid cuts, it's been quite difficult. The criteria is pretty strict now to get legal aid. So we would like to just work with partnerships. Humbercare was, you know, we heard about the good work Humbercare were doing. So we thought it would make a great collaboration. We also work with the Citizens Advice Bureau, Together Women's Project. So it's just putting something back into the community.
And so effectively, once a month, you lend them a lawyer?
Yeah, yes. Or any time, we're flexible, any time that they want somebody to come along and give legal advice, then we're there. So I think it's going to work pretty well.
If people, Debbie mentioned that legal aid cuts and things like that, it's now, you have to, I'm not sure, it's almost impossible to qualify for legal aid. And it seems like a ridiculous thing that the purpose of the state is to provide justice for all, to be an impartial referee between citizens, and yet you can only get to that if you've got oodles and oodles of money.
Sure.
What sort of qualifications do people have to qualify for your assistance?
Basically, again, that's a wide variety of issues that they might have. Just following on from what Debbie said there, not many people in general can get legal aid at the moment, this moment in time, can they? So we have clients that have extremely chaotic lives, complex needs issues, they may be extremely vulnerable. So their first thought when they do their support packages would not be to sort of look at legal aid. So with our support package that we put in place, we might sort of advise them as to reconnection with family. We have individuals that might want to sort of gain access to their children, and we want to set them a goal. And I think me and Debbie were talking before about the fact that James Legal can help our clients set that goal. So they can do that at the beginning of the support, but they can also do it at the end. They might have addressed all their issues, they might have addressed a mental health issue or something that sort of led them to be homeless or be supported by Humbercare. And once they've done that, that might be where sort of Debbie and her team come in and offer them support and guidance along the way.
That's quite a wide range of legal territory there. I mean, there's a sort of the offender aspect of it that's going to involve the criminal law, but it's going to involve a lot of civil law as well. What are the areas that you find are most frequently coming up?
Well, I think we were thinking maybe family law may come into it quite a lot. Both myself and my colleague Sarah are in the James Legal Family Department, but we have a property department, wills, employment, litigation, business. So We have many departments at James Legal, so it's just really seeing what people actually want and what we can offer them. But yeah, I mean, we're far-reaching. We have quite a, you know.
So if somebody comes into the centre with a case of forensic nuance between, you know, the relationship between equity and common law that should be decided by the finest Supreme Court judges, James Legal will have the lawyer who can solve that problem.
Yes.
Why is it that we are frightened of litigation? It's there for us. It's something that's the law is available. Why are we reluctant to litigate?
I don't know. I think many people think that maybe their case isn't a litigation type case. In the family department, I know especially clients come in, they don't realise they're victims to domestic violence. People don't really know the law. So maybe that's where we can help them.
That's something we should make a little more public and obvious. Thank you very much, thank you for providing that access.
Thank
you very much.
Thanks.
Time now for the sports news. Hull FC's Lee Radford has named an unchanged 19-man squad to face St Helens this weekend. The Black and Whites face Saints at the KC Stadium on Saturday. Kick-off is at 3 p.m. in round 16 of Super League 2016. The game also sees both clubs celebrate Steve Prescott Day in memory of the Rugby League legend, with Hull FC currently holding a 1-point aggregate as they look to retain the Preccy Cup. Hull head coach Radford has picked the same squad that travelled to Newcastle for the Magic Weekend, coming away with a 28-16 derby win over rivals Hull KR. Hull Kingston Rovers head coach James Webster has been forced into making 5 changes to his 19-man squad to face Catalan's Dragons in Perpignan on Saturday. The Rovers boss is without the suspended Mitch Allgood for the trip to the south of France, while Thomas Minns, Ben Cockayne and Graham Horne missed the match through injury. Captain Terry Campese will not be risked in the game after making his return to action in the Magic Weekend derby against Hull FC. They're all replaced in the squad by the returning Kevin Laroya, who is set to make his first senior appearance of the season after injuring his shoulder in the January friendly against Huddersfield Giants. Laroya is joined by French teammate Jean Boudebza for his weekend's match, while prop Robbie Mulhern, makes his return from injury, and youngsters Will Jubb and Joe Keita are awarded a call-up. 11 players have left newly promoted Grimsby Town as they prepare to return to the Football League in 2016-2017. Midfielder John Nolan, who made 22 appearances for the Mariners, has joined one club, Chesterfield. Defender Danny East and forward John Paul Pittman are in a group of 10 players not offered new deals. Padraig Armand, who scored 33 goals last season, has been offered a new contract, along with striker Nathan Arnold and midfielder Craig Disley. Iron chairman Peter Swan was part of the winning team at the BMW Championship Celebrity Pro-Am at Wentworth Golf Club this week. He was joined in his group by 2012 Ryder Cup star Nicholas Colsertz, One Direction pop star Niall Horan and Irish rugby legend Brian O'Driscoll. The tour was able to help raise £38,000 to help the Cancer Research UK Kids and Teens charity. The event is the traditional curtain raiser for the PGA Championship event, which takes place this coming weekend. Just time quickly to tell you about a Hot Topic special discussing the EU referendum, which will take place at the Grimsby Institute on Thursday the 16th of June at 7:30 p.m. My guests will certainly be including Melanie On and Martin Vickers and Victoria Ailing and a few others. If you'd like to be a part of the audience or you have any questions for the panel, then please get in touch in the usual ways. We'd love to hear from you.